When you think of pesto, and some pesto, you think of albahaca, so basil, pine nuts, piñones, or garlic, ajo, as well as Parmesan cheese, Reggiano, olive oil. The thing is, that's great if you're just going to use it for one thing. And so what I like to do is rather have a basil base and then flavor it when I need it. Think of it like a DJ when you cut pieces of the chorus into something else. So you mix some merengue with some cumbia, some reggaeton. So in this case, we'll do the base, which is just going to be albahaca, so the basil, garlic, and the olive oil. And then we'll freeze it. After it's frozen, when you need it, when you want it, take it out, thaw it out. If you want to make it Italian, great. Add some piñones. If you're not allergic to nuts, add some Parmesan cheese, season it, you're good to go. Say you want a Mexican twist. Agregale some roasted poblano, right? Some pepitas, pumpkin seeds, maybe some cotija cheese, queso fresco, something like that, right? Or you want to go more Mediterranean, maybe some feta. So those things, then you start to get options, which is great. Or you can turn this thing into a vinaigrette even if you want. It gives you variety without being stuck to one thing. You're able to maximize your food. And the thing is with basil, it's very fragrant, very therapeutic. I love it. The other part is that it's very fragile though. And so the thing is, when you make basil, you don't want it to go all black. So what we do is we blanch it. You get some water to boil. I don't like to add salt because whatever you add in, you can't take out. So if you're not familiar with how much salt to use, and you're gonna change it again, I'd rather add the salt later. Cheese is very salty. Think of Reggiano, feta. Those are very, very salty. And so depending on what you're going to be making, you might be over seasoning your food. I'd rather just extract the flavor and have the base. So we'll blanch the leaves, then I'll run them through some cold water right away so they stop the cooking process. And then we're going to squeeze the heck out of the water, like if you're doing laundry. And then we'll blend it. We'll blend it with some of the purple one. The purple one I'm not going to blanch because then you get rid of its antioxidant properties. So this pesto in itself, it's going to be darker to begin with, right? But it's going to be more nutrient packed. And so between the basil, the garlic, you have some nice anti-inflammatory properties. And then with the purple basil, antioxidants. So think of arándanos, right? In España, arándanos, it's a blueberry. Pero in Latin America, arándanos tends to be more of a dried cranberry. So you might hear arándano azul. So azul is blue. The arándano is the berry. To blanch it, when you blanch the green one, you lose some of that peppery taste. And to regain some of that back, voy a usar este aceite de oliva virgen, que tiene ese sabor a pimienta. Y también con un poco de ajo. And then lo voy a congelar. So then you have your base. So instead of making it a straight pesto, so I don't like to eat the same thing all the time. So in this case, we'll leave it with the albahaca, el ajo, el aceite, lo congelamos. Digamos que quieres hacer, go Italian, ya de ahí con lo descongelas, you thaw it out, add in your pine nuts, if you're not allergic, some Parmesan cheese. Terminas con tu pasta. If you want to go Italian, digamos you want to go Mexican, it's un queso cotija, un poco de sal. Now you got yourself more of a Mexican style pesto. De ahí, so you can always add in. So that's why I also don't add a lot of salt, or I won't add salt, because once it's in there, I can't take it out. So if I reduce it or whatever, it'll get salty. Especialmente quesos secos in Mexico, they're really, really salty, like cotija cheese or queso de pueblo. You don't want to over-season or overpower your food. So great question. So thank you. So yeah, so we're making just a simple base. Again, I got water going, so pretty much we'll blanch it real quick. Y de ahí lo vamos a puré and licuadora, the Vitamix. And you'll hear me probably just say Vitamix because that's kind of the industry standard. Any kitchen que entres, the brand of choice is Vitamix. So Vitamix is blender, licuadora, not batidora. Okay, batidora is a mixer. So many No mixer as a KitchenAid, right? Okay, so we already weighed out the basil, right? We had 95 grams of the green and 54 of the purple. It was 30 grams of garlic. Y lo que vamos a hacer es blanch the basil. We'll blend it, and then I'll just freeze it, and that'll be good for, as long as you put it in an airtight container, 2 to 3 months. But just make sure it's covered, doesn't get that freezer taste. When you're gonna use it, thaw it out and go from there. And you'll notice also that some of the flavor actually concentrates as it's frozen. So we'll blanch this real quick. I mean, we're talking 10 seconds at max. And then we'll go straight into some running water. Ideally, if you have an ice bath, then just drop it in. Or you can just run it under water, depending on how much you have. If you have a lot, then go with the ice. If you don't have that much. Another thing you can do is, if you don't have a lot of ice, because not a lot of us carry a lot of ice in our house, find yourself a gallon and put that gallon in the fridge and let the water get cold. And then you have some cold water to initially start the shocking process, which means that it stops the cooking process of the food. And now the thing is to dry it up a bit. Estás exprimiéndolo. Think of like doing laundry, right? When you need to do laundry by hand, you have to squeeze the heck out of the water. So same thing here. And the reason you want that is para que no se te haga, te quede todo like liquidy. So you want this to be more of a paste. Since I'm going to be using this purple basil, it's going to get a bit on the darker side. Another thing I like to do is just go ahead and cut it up a bit, so it's easier for the blender to catch it and cut it. So again, it's going straight in the blender. So I like to add a little bit of oil on the bottom. Tenga ya para empezar. And in this case, since we're using the wet basil on top, you want to probably put some weight on this already. So we'll put this at the bottom, and I'm just tearing it so it catches it. And then I'm going to add now the green one. And again, we weighed this already, so we know how much basil and stuff comes in. And when I make this, I'll drop in the comments on the, for when I post it, I'll put in the actual weights of what we use. So if you want to replicate this at home, you can. And again, the trick with the olive oil is that we started with our initial weight. Does that make sense? So yeah, we'll find out how much weight at the end, and the difference is how much oil we used. It gives you a good point. So here's the garlic. It's our Vitamix, of course, and start making our pesto. And again, I'm using extra virgin olive oil. When you blanch the pesto, the albahaca, the green one, you lose some of that pepperiness, and you can get that back with some of the olive oil. So in this case, I'm just going to take the cap off because I know I'm going to need some more. Take the same style of a vinaigrette, empieza lo bajo. Now you want to get it, when you slow down the blender, some of it will come back down, back up. The thing also with pesto is your blender will start to get hot, right? And so you don't want it to get too hot, so when you don't blanch it, that'll also cause it to go black, right? So remember, this one is darker because of the purple basil. Otherwise, it should have stayed green. And I'm using the purple basil because, one, I bought it, but two, it has more antioxidants, more properties. So you're getting a little bit of a nutrient boost. So now is a good time where you can essentially drizzle in the oil. It's a little flat, so to pick it up just a little bit, I'm going to add just a touch of lemon. And I'm not adding a lot, just to give it just a touch of acid. And we'll leave it there. Now what I'll do is I'll portion it. So with weighing for your recipe, right? Weigh what you ended up getting as your final result, your ending weight. And if you wanted to do food costs and all of that, that's also how you would run it. But from here, now you can portion it accordingly as to what how much base you have. Again, this is really thick, right? And it's the same thing, and it's really dark because of the purple basil. So keep that in mind when you're going to make your dish, whatever it is. The color it has right now reminds me of making arroz negro, so like squid ink rice. So I have 125 grams, so I can split that in two and then get the rest out in a second. But so I'll do 60 grams and 60 grams, and that way I have two versions of it, or two options. So we have that, cover it, and this is where it's good practice to label what you get. In this case, I would just label it purple pesto, because to me that means there's purple basil in it. You can label it however you want, you know, and purple basil and 60 grams. So that way, whenever you get it again, you know how much you have. And if you're going to be making more of a different recipe, you know how much you got. And then from there, you can make your whatever recipe you want to do. So yeah, so here's something out of something. And essentially it means to prep ahead of time, right? So find these things and you can save them for something else. So yeah, so there we go. Purple basil, purple pesto base, and yeah, maybe next week or something, try to make it with something out of nothing, where we'll see what we can come up with. But that's it for today. If you guys learned something, let me know in the comments. Subscribe, like, share, and let me know if you guys try this out or if there's something else that comes to mind. So thank you for joining, and see you on the next one.